Good morning. Here we go again. I've got another food for thought. Trust you're looking forward to the weekend. I am. I've got conference, so I'm speaking 4 times this weekend on preparing the bride. I'm looking forward to that. Well, I want to talk more about faith. You know, faith's in the action. It's not in the believing. Believing in the head is not faith. It may gender faith, but faith is in the action. Let me read the definition of faith in Hebrews 11 verse 1. Now faith is, so it's the definition, faith is the substance of things hoped for. So it's the evidence. Well, evidence is not in your head. That's a belief. It's in your head. You think you believe. Faith is when it's manifest, when you have the evidence. It's the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Substance is something tangible. So while it's in your head, you can believe all you want, but it's not faith. Faith is when it's manifest. So it's the evidence that you did believe. The second thing I want to say is faith linked to obedience to what God has said. You can't take a promise from the Bible that was to Abraham or David or Joseph or Elijah, a specific promise, and make it your own. That's presumption if you act on that. Maybe God will tell you what he told Abram. He's never told me to kill my only son, so I'm thankful for that. But God has to speak specifically to you, and if he says the same as he said to Elijah, that's great, go for it. But I've found that God is specific to specific people, and he doesn't give general instructions there in the Bible. He doesn't need to send a prophet or an angel to speak to you, because the general instructions are in the Bible. So you can be obedient to what God has told every Christian to do. And there are so many instructions in the Bible that apply to everyone from Jesus and the apostles. So we can act in faith and put them into practice. Faith doesn't have feelings. We're often apprehensive or afraid or reluctant to do what God said. But we've got to do it despite our feelings, despite our emotions. I'm sure Abram wasn't a happy man. I'm sure he had doubts going up the hill to kill his only son after a 3-day journey. But it didn't matter how his feelings were. It didn't matter if he had doubts. It didn't matter if he was frightened stiff. So long as he obeyed God. His faith is in the action. Faith is obeying God. So his actions were his faith. And Hebrews 11:8 tells us, in fact, his faith was counted for righteousness. By faith, Abram, when he was called to go up out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, he obeyed and he went out, not knowing where he went. He just obeyed God. That was his faith. Another example, Gideon. Gideon was frightened of the Midianites. All Israel were frightened of the Midianites. But it didn't stop him. He threshed the wheat in secret. And God used him because he acted on his faith. He knew that God's people needed feeding, so he threshed the wheat in secret. Judges 6:11. And there came an angel of the Lord and sat under an oak which was in Ophrah, that pertained unto Joash the Abiezrite, and his son Gideon threshed wheat by the winepress to hide it from the Midianites. He did it scared. And that's what I want to leave you with. If you find an instruction in the Bible, love your enemies, do good to those who despitefully use you, feed the poor, whatever. There's hundreds and hundreds of scriptures, instructions in the Bible. There's no suggestions. They're commandments, whatever Jesus said. So, if you find some instruction and you're scared, do it anyway. Do it scared. Don't go on your feelings, don't go on your emotions, but do it because your obedience is a demonstration that you believed. Faith is in the action, not in the believing. It's the evidence that you did believe. Time's gone, so have a great weekend. Keep obedient and keep thinking.